He is a little fussy. Yep.
So excuse the fact that I have some junk still in the vehicle, but on the left side, underneath the fuse block, I have the Kenwood NX-5800 series radio, followed by a Motorola Spectra for 900 megahertz. Then just a standard fuse distribution block. What you can't see is in the little cage behind the radio, I do have the Kenwood ignition filter in there. On that left side of the vehicle that I just showed with the Kenwood, it's wired directly to the vehicle battery. On the right side, I also have this wired directly, this particular fuse block wired directly to the battery, but there is a low voltage disconnect, and this is powering some low power devices such as my cell phone and Wi-Fi hotspot and all the other amateur radio hotspots that I have in here, usually one or two, maybe one for DMR, NxDN, P25, etc. Those generally stay on, but when the vehicle is off, it's powered by its own 100 amp lithium iron phosphate battery. So when I shut the ignition off, the car battery won't continue to charge that. However, if solar is available, so if there's enough light, that will first charge the lithium battery for my ham radio equipment. If the lithium battery is fully charged, it's also monitoring simultaneously the vehicle battery, and will switch the solar to feed the main car battery and keep that starter battery topped off. I apologize, it's a little hard to see, but this is the Motorola Spectra remote head on 900 megahertz. It's currently on one of the local Boca analog repeater frequencies, and I just have the iPad holder adjusted. Let me zoom out a little. So I do have a iPad holder connected to the vector graphics bracket using both vector and 67 Designs control arms. This over here is for cell phone, and I have a spare arm over here which is for something like an S-Pod switch controller for some of the external lights on the Jeep. It's not visible right now, it's just an install in progress. And that bracket attaches to the Jeep. I have a Jeep Wrangler JL that we're showing you today. I was just helping a friend do an install. So this bracket does not drill into the Jeep, it reuses the factory holes. So over here we have the Kenwood NX-5800 rig. It can work with additional control head decks. So this is the control head. Right now it's on one of the analog frequencies. The way I have this set up, which is not too uncommon, is this would change the zones. This button over here, the toggle pad, would change the different channels or talk groups depending within that particular zone. And since this is a commercial radio, it has quite a lot of frequencies that can be programmed in here. I think a little more than most of the ham radio, amateur ham radio rigs. I'm in kind of almost a direct sunlight. One of the cool things about this control head, it's kind of nice and large. It has a good LCD size, almost as big as my 4 fingers, not quite, but close. And you can see it's a very clear, sharp, colorful display, even in, I'm not going to say direct sunlight, but I'm in nearly direct sunlight. All the buttons have good tactile feedback. You can control almost every little aspect of whether you want the buttons to beep, what do you want the buttons to do. The 67 Designs wasn't really meant specifically to hold commercial two-way radios, repurposed for ham gear. However, there's a lot of hams that have used these devices, and that's what gave me the idea. I'm just using some of their existing screw mounts and using the factory Kenwood brackets and the factory Motorola brackets. It's not pretty. I still, like I said, it's a bit of a work in progress. Have to make some adjustments to the brackets to finalize the design and the angles, how I want to orient the control heads. But in a nutshell, that is how it is. It is 100% functional, so the antenna, the power, all of that is working great. We ran multiple heavy gauge DC cables direct from the battery to the rear, and in the back I have a battery management system in there that's charging auxiliary batteries that powers the ham radios, isolates them from the starter battery to make sure that they're not gonna, die out on me if I shut the vehicle off and forget to leave the radio on. The hotspots are designed, however, to stay on for an extended period of time. This way, if I park and take my HT, my car remains a hotspot. If I go shopping, into the mall, into the office, I could still use the hotspots, for example, to provide DMR or fusion into most of the towns that I'm in. Don't really have any of those amateur repeaters direct for those modes, so I run a low power hotspot for that. I hope you find the overall video of this person's Jeep interesting. Seems like not the most beautiful install, but did accomplish the basics of getting some radios in there. In the future, I will hope to show you down here is a Molly bracket where the 2 microphones are clipped. Again, this bracket here, I could show you, is where have the speakers kind of located just off the Jeep body. And we have this Molly bracket. I forgot who made it. However, again, it's not using not requiring any drilling of the Jeep. It's using the factory bolt holes and reusing them to mount this bracket, and this bracket's in there. Very solid. It's not going anywhere. So for right now, this is supporting the microphones. It will also have a flexible gooseneck control head, hopefully in the future, with a HF rig between the seat. I can't show that right now, but maybe the next video. Hope to show you a control head style CB radio for highway traveling and on the Jeep trails. So again, hope that everybody likes this video. It was really a video of a friend's Jeep for a friend or two that had asked to share what the results were. Once the install was finished, a couple of people were rather curious. I do not claim to be a YouTuber, obviously. I don't have any special, I don't have any YouTube skills. This wasn't edited in any way. So most all the cables were hidden inside either the floor trim or the sport, I'm going to incorrectly call it the roll bar, the sport bar plastic trim. However, I didn't want to cut the dash, so also I didn't want to do anything that modified the Jeep. So as far as drilling any holes in the Jeep, stuff like that, we tried to not do that. So rather than cut the Jeep, the windshield, as in most cars, seals pretty tight up against the dashboard, and didn't want to cut the dashboard. For these style commercial rigs, there's some very heavy cables, and it's more than just the control head cables. So there's a little junction between where this cable meets this bracket. It does not run the full length of the dash. It kind of has to stop where the speaker is. So this bracket here parallels a bunch of cables in the loom, and that's on both sides of this install. I'm not sure if it comes out well in such bright sunlight, but the control heads, in addition to the control head cable, they also output things like the Motorola Spectra. They're kind of famous for having the ignition wires. I'm not using turn on ignition, so that's just wired directly to 12-volt hot. So the radio comes on and turns on and off basically just by the power switch, which is fine for that intended use. And it also has, both rigs have speaker out, comes from the control head. I believe there is a way to do it, get the speaker out from the rear of the radio, but since the speaker is kind of basically below the control heads, it was just as easy to have the power and control head cables coming on this side and the speaker out and other data-like functions. Since this Kenwood utilizes a standard like Ethernet cable, I have a special Ethernet cable here that I ran down to where I have the microphones held, so I don't have to have the microphone right now. It's just plugged directly into the radio. And so this cable kind of dangles in view of the dash. So down here I have a remote Ethernet, which just runs up to that control cable. This is a special low capacitance and RF shielded Ethernet cable. I guess it would be the equivalent of a little greater than a Cat6 as well, and it's double shielded as well. And I ran it on both ends through a couple of ferrite beads. And it tested out okay. We also tested the cable with a cable tester, make sure that all the pairs are straight through and there's no breaks, etc. So that part of the install was hopefully successful. Anyway, so using 67 Designs brackets, the Vector brackets, 67 Design mounts. I'm also using this as a RAM mount for the iPad. I could put in a couple of different style tablets in here. It snaps in quite easy, just as the 67 Designs. This bracket just kind of slides open to put your cell phone in there. So if I am working on the job or just need to park for